Hello retro gamers. In this video we will be taking a look to the top 10 classic PC games of the 90s. The 90s decade was crucial for PC gaming. During that time frame, gamers experienced the transition from 2D flat graphics simulation and graphical adventure games to almost real-world 3D packed action gaming. The games released during this era created the necessary foundations for modern gaming genders. For example, games such as Doom and Quake created the basis for the now widely popular 3D shooting genre. Other games such as Command & Conquer and StarCraft skyrocketed the real strategy simulation genre popularity. And last but not least, how to forget those absolutely wonderful and hilarious graphical adventures titles released during this decade, such as Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango or Monkey's Island. The criteria used to rank each game into this top were popularity, gameplay quality, game influence, graphics quality, sound quality and story quality. Let's begin. Number 10. Duke Nukem 3D. Fast-paced, action-packed 3D shooting game with hilarious quotes from the main character. That is the perfect definition for Duke Nukem 3D. In this game, Duke is in charge of kicking the butts of an invader alien race that wants to take control of the Earth and enslave humanity. Released in 1996 by 3D Realms, Duke Nukem offers a fantastic gameplay, full of jokes, funny quotes, and unprecedented scenario interaction, such as looking yourself in the mirror, the possibility of peeing in the bathroom, or paying a stripper to show her boobs. Duke was considered as the next step in the evolution of 3D shooting games, since it includes new elements to this genre, such as more scenario interaction, more explosions, the possibility of flying using a jetpack, or blowing your enemies using remote-controlled bombs or rocket launcher, shrinking the aliens with a gun, and then smash them with your foot like a cockroach, etc. The graphics and sound were fine for its time. Basically, we had an almost free roam 3D scenario, but the characters, items, and guns were compassed by 2D sprites. However, the animations of the guns are really good. On the other hand, the audio is great, the sound of the explosions, the guns, the music, the voice of the main character is very clear, and Duke quotes are the jewel of the crown. Finally, we can say that Duke Nukem was a really enjoyable game that guaranteed the avid gamer many hours of fun while blowing alien heads, flying in your jetpack, or just laughing by listening Duke's amusing quotes. Number 9. Quake. We continue with more explosions and monsters slaying with the next game in our list. Quake is a 3D shooter game released in 1996 by ID Software, and was advertised as the first true 3D game. This fact was a breakthrough, because this game was the first to run on a true 3D engine, the Quake engine. Such engine was capable of generating scenarios, characters, weapons and all the items in the game, using polygon meshes. It also employed a method named gyro shading to produce continuous shading of surfaces represented by polygon meshes. Quake was one of the first games to support 3D hardware acceleration, although initially released to run only under software rendering mode. Later his creator, John Carmack, created an off-angle version that ran under Windows 95, with support for hardware acceleration cards of the time, such as the 3DFX Voodoo, Power VR, and Rendition. Another important aspect of the game is that it included a deathmatch mode that allowed players to play with others in a local network, or in distant locations around the world using the web. The storyline of Quake is similar to that of Doom, and goes as follows. In a non-so-distant future, scientists and the military forces create an incipient teleportation technology, creating a sort of portal generators known as slipgates. Slipgates are artifacts that allow the materialization of objects between spatially distant locations. The problem is that slipgates were also capable of creating portals between multiple dimensions. One of the military facilities was affected by this behavior, and a portal between this world and a parallel dimension plagued with demons was created by accident. A large-scale invasion with hordes of demons that threatened to doom the planet started. All the soldiers and marines in ground bases were defeated by the hordes of ruthless demons. At this point, the player takes the role of the last survivor of one of the troops that was able to go through the portal. The objective of the game is to defeat the hordes of demons, especially the final boss known with the codename of Quake. The player starts with an axe and a shotgun, but in his path, he will be able to find some exotic weapons, such as the nail guns and the thunderbolt gun. Quake was acclaimed by the specialized media. Several websites such as GameRanks and Metacritic gave scores over 90% in their reviews. Without a doubt, a really good game that will be in the hearts of the classic PC gamers forever. Number 8. Doom. The next game in our list is a title acclaimed as the origin of the first-person shooter genre. Doom was released in 1993 by ID Software and is considered one of the pioneers of the 3D shooting genre. It was so influential that generated multiple sequels, expansions, ports to game consoles, and even a movie. The storyline of Doom is really disturbing and controversial. The main character is a Marine who is in a routine mission in an station in Phobos, one of the Mars moons. Suddenly a failure in a teleportation experiment occurred, opening hell gates. A large number of demons and evil spirits were then released. While the hordes of demons killed almost all the Marines, the evil spirits took control of the bodies of the fallen soldiers, converting them into zombies and infesting all the station. The objective of the main character, who is the only survivor, is to go through all the levels killing all the zombie Marines and monsters in his path. The player starts with a pistol, but also can kill the enemies using his fist in case that the ammunition is over. In his path he can find more deadly weapons, such as an electric saw, a shotgun, a machine gun, a plasma rifle and the ultimate weapon, the Bioforce gun BFG 9000. The player can also find health kits and armor kits to withstand more damage. Doom was a really controversial game when it was released. In fact, it was catalogued as one of the most controversial games ever. This because of the gore violence and satanic images. The game was criticized by several religious organizations because of its satanic content, and it was labeled as a mass murder simulator. Despite all the controversy, the game was extremely popular among PC gamers, and set the standard for upcoming games of its gender. Number 7. Command & Conquer: Red Alert. Our next game kept many gamers glued to their computers by hours or even days. Command & Conquer is one of the first franchises of its genre, and specifically, CNC Red Alert is one of the best real-time strategy games of all time. Command & Conquer: Red Alert was released in 1996 by Westwood Studios and popularized the RTS genre in the PC gaming world. The most relevant aspect of the game was its user interface, which was much better developed and was easier to use than previous games of the same genre. The game also offers the possibility of network games, using a local network or through the internet. The storyline of CNC Red Alert takes place in an alternate reality generated by a time machine named Chronosphere that was created by Einstein. This chronosphere is used by his creator to travel from 1946 to 1924, with the intention of killing Hitler and prevent World War II. After accomplishing his objective, Einstein returns to 1946, and he realizes that the war did not devastate Europe. But his plan did not consider that without Hitler, the Soviet Union under the leadership of Stalin would rapidly become the most powerful expansionist superpower in the world. The Allied forces seemed to be overwhelmed by the Soviets, causing the beginning of World War II anyways. Throughout the game, the Allies and the Soviets battle for the control of Europe, a conflict that will cost 80 million of human lives. The objective of the game is to defeat the enemy by constructing bases that produce military units, such as soldiers, vehicles and other weapons. Command & Conquer: Red Alert was the game that created the foundations for all the upcoming RTS games, and skyrocketed a genre that added more games to its catalog very rapidly.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Ready. Building. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. At once.
Number 6. Civilization 2. Civilization 2 is a turn-based strategy game. It is different from RTS games because you have to wait until your opponent makes its move in order to do something, and vice versa. This game was created by Sid Meier and released in 1998 by Microprose. The objective in Civilization 2 is to create an advanced civilization, starting with a nomad tribe. The player has to develop that tribe and reach the highest achievements in all areas: technology, power and money. Civilization is a really long play where the player has to do scientific research, city defenses, create plans to attack up to 6 rival civilizations, truces, peace treaties and alliances. There exist many types of units in the game, such as helicopters, combat planes, marines, mechanized infantry, rockets, missiles, trucks, submarines, spies, war elephants, etc. On release, the game received very positive reviews. A reviewer for Next Generation said that it was one of the most balanced and playable games released. Computer Gaming World gave it the Strategy Game of the Year award, and PC Gamer US named it one of the finest strategy games ever made. In short, this is one of the best PC games in history. Tice. Number 5. Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. And it is time for one of the most wonderful graphical adventures of all time. Monkey Island 2 is an adventure game developed and published by LucasArts in 1991. The game's story centers on the adventures of wannabe pirate Guybrush Threepwood after defeating ghost pirate LeChuck in the previous Monkey Island game. The objective of Guybrush is to find the treasure of Big Whoop. This led Guybrush to a really long quest that involves lots of library research, rigged gambling, theft, drinking contests, necromancy, monkeys, spitting, and voodoo magic. The game received many high reviews for all versions. The game is still considered very high quality, with contemporary reviewers scoring the game highly. This game is often considered the greatest in the point-and-click genre, and still stands up well against modern adventure game titles. Number 4. Do X. At first glance, Do X looks like a typical first-person shooter 3D game, but it is not. It is actually an action role-playing video game that features combat similar to FPS shooters, with real-time action and a reflex-based gameplay. The game is set in a kind of cyberpunk dystopian world in the year 2052. The story is about J.C. Denton, an agent that works for the United Nations Anti-Terrorist Coalition. Denton has superhuman abilities based on nanotechnology, and has to make use of his given abilities to combat hostile forces in a world ravaged by inequality and the deadly plague. As he advances throughout the missions, he gets involved in a conspiracy that brings him into conflict with the Triads, Majestic 12 and the Illuminati. Do X gameplay is not linear, since the missions can be completed in a variety of ways, that in turn lead to different outcomes. The most important aspect of the game is the possibility of customizing the character's abilities in 11 different areas. A player can choose to create a furtive character by increasing his effectiveness in areas such as lockpicking and computer hacking, or can create a more combat-focused character by improving his abilities with pistol and rifles. In order to achieve such improvements, the player needs to collect skill points that are awarded with the completion of certain objectives. The character has the possibility of developing superhuman powers through nano-augmentation cybernetic devices. The game offers up to 18 of these augmentations, but the player can choose to have up to 9 simultaneously. Each augmentation enhances a specific area or body part, such as arms, eyes, legs, head, torso, or skin. The player needs to choose carefully between the benefits offered by each augmentation. The game received critical acclaim. It has been awarded with several awards, including being named Best PC Game of All Time in PC Gamer's Top 100 PC Games. It also received several Game of the Year awards by its pioneering designs in player choice and multiple narrative paths. In short, Do X is a great and innovative game that has left a legacy that produced 3 sequels that complete this successful franchise.
What's that gonna do? Just tell Paul to give us bullets next time.
Number 3. Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is a fantasy role-playing video game developed by BioWare and published in 1998 by Interplay Entertainment. The game uses a modified version of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition rules. The game's story takes place in the fictional world of Forgotten Realms, and focuses on players controlling a character of their own creation, who find themselves traveling across the Sword Coast alongside of party companions, to unravel the mystery surrounding a sudden iron crisis affecting the region, and attempting to discover the culprits behind it. The gameplay consists in creating a character who travels across pre-rendered locations in a top-down isometric view. The player needs to take quests and recruit companions for aid, and combating enemies, while managing the resources to complete the ongoing quest. Baldur's Gate received positive reviews from every major computer gaming publication that reviewed it. At the time of release, PC Gamer US said that Baldur's Gate reigns supreme over every RPG currently available, and set the standards for those to come. Maximum PC Magazine compared the gameplay to Diablo, but with improved selection of features and options. The game was deemed an instant classic because of the amount of customization that is allowed, the fluid storylines and the replayability. Baldur's Gate was named the best computer role-playing game of 1998 by the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, and the Academy of Adventure Gaming Arts and Design. Also several specialized publications such as Computer Gaming World, PC Gamer US, RPG Vault, and GameSpot gave this title the Game of the Year award. The editors of computer games wrote that Baldur's Gate delivers everything you could ask for in a computer game.
You learn it a lot better, and it doesn't
Number 2. Half-Life. Half-Life is a first-person shooter video game developed by Valve Corporation and published by Sierra Studios for Microsoft Windows in 1998. In this game, the player takes the role of Gordon Freeman, who is a physicist working in the Black Mesa Research Facility. The story begins when Freeman, while conducting an experiment wearing his hazardous environment suit in the anomalous materials section, pushes an unusual material into an anti-mass spectrometer for analysis. The spectrometer explodes, creating a resonance cascade that opens a portal to another dimension named Zen. Rapidly, the hostile creatures coming from the Zen dimension invades Black Mesa, and Gordon has to fight his way through the facilities, defending himself against hostile Zen creatures, such as vortigaunts and parasitic headcrabs, and U.S. Marines sent to cover up the incident. The objective of the game is to guide Freeman outside Black Mesa and make his way to the Lambda complex, where he realizes that he needs to be teleported to the Zen dimension in order to destroy the Nihilanth, which is the entity maintaining the portal open. Half-Life gameplay is not as straightforward as other games of the genre. Although it is mainly a first-person shooter, it requires the player to perform puzzle solving to advance through the game. Most of the bosses need to be defeated by solving puzzles, such as using elements present in the environment, instead of firepower. Unlike most of their peers at the time, Half-Life story is told by means of scripted sequences, keeping the player in control of the first-person viewpoint. Another aspect of the game is that there are no levels. The game is divided into chapters whose titles flash on the screen as the player moves through the game. Progress through the world is continuous, except for short pauses for loading. The game has overall an unprecedented and wonderful gameplay. Half-Life received critical acclaim for its graphics, realistic gameplay, and seamless narrative. It won over 50 PC Game of the Year awards, and is considered one of the most influential titles of the first-person shooter genre, as well as one of the greatest video games of all time. By 2008, the game had sold over 9 million copies. Half-Life has a score of 96 out of 100 on aggregate review website Metacritic. Computer Gaming World's Jeff Green said that the game is not just one of the best games of the year. It's one of the best games of any year, an instant classic that is miles better than any of its immediate competition, and in its single-player form, is the best shooter since the original Doom. IGN described it as a tour de force in game design, the definitive single-player game in a first-person shooter. IGN has also described the game as one of the most influential video games, saying that the history of the FPS genre breaks down pretty cleanly into pre-Half-Life and post-Half-Life eras. GameSpot claimed that it was the closest thing to a revolutionary step the genre has ever taken.
Yeah, let's go.
Number 1. StarCraft. Finally, we have reached the number 1 position. StarCraft is a military science fiction real-time strategy video game developed and published by Blizzard Entertainment for Microsoft Windows personal computers on March 31, 1998. StarCraft takes place in a science fiction universe created by Blizzard Entertainment. The story begins when overpopulation of Earth in the early 24th century has caused the international governing body, known as United Powers League, to exile certain members of the human race, such as criminals, the cybernetically enhanced and genetic mutants, to colonize the far reaches of the galaxy. An attempt to colonize a nearby solar system goes wrong, resulting in humanity's arrival in the Kaprulu sector. In the distant Kaprulu sector of the galaxy, the exiles form several governments, but quickly fall into conflict with each other. One government, the Confederacy of Man, eventually emerges as the strongest faction, but its oppressive nature and brutal methods of suppressing dissidents stir up major rebel opposition in the form of a terrorist group called the Sons of Coral. Just prior to the beginning of the game, in December 2499, an alien race possessing advanced technology and psionic power, the Protoss, makes first contact with humanity by destroying a Confederate colony world without any prior warning. Soon after this, the Terrans discover that a second alien race, the insectoid Zerg, has been stealthily infesting the surface of several of the Terran colonies, and that the Protoss are destroying the planets to prevent the Zerg from spreading. With the Confederacy threatened by two alien races and internal rebellion, it begins to crumble. Blizzard Entertainment's use of 3 distinct races in StarCraft is widely credited with revolutionizing the real-time strategy genre. The Protoss have access to powerful units and machinery and advanced technologies, such as energy shields and localized warp capabilities, powered by their psionic traits. The insectoid Zerg possess entirely organic units and structures, which can be produced quickly and at a far cheaper cost to resources. The humanoid Terrans provide a middle ground between the other 2 races, providing units that are versatile and flexible. They have access to a range of more ballistic military technologies and machinery, such as tanks and nuclear weapons. The main objective in StarCraft is to defeat the other races in the map by constructing 1 or more bases on the territory and a diversity of battle units. To achieve that, the player has to manage the resources to sustain the game economies. Those resources are minerals and the Vespene gas. Minerals are needed for all units and structures, and are obtained by using a worker unit to harvest a resource directly from mineral nodes scattered around the battlefield. Players require Vespene gas to construct advanced units and buildings, and acquire it by constructing a gas extraction building on top of a geyser, and using worker units to extract the gas from it. In addition, players need to regulate the supplies for their forces to ensure that they can construct the number of units they need. Multiplayer on StarCraft is powered through Blizzard Entertainment's Battle.net internet service. Through this, a maximum of 8 players can compete in a variety of game modes, including simply destroying all other players, to King of the Hill, and capture the flag objective-based games. Many journalists of the industry have praised StarCraft as one of the most important and one of the greatest video games of all time. The game is also said to have raised the bar for developing real-time strategy games. With more than 11 million copies sold worldwide by February 2009, StarCraft became one of the best-selling games for the personal computer. Well, retro gamers, this has been all. Thanks for watching. And please like and subscribe. Goodbye. Until the next video.